All right, we bowl things off with cricket on this edition of the SportsMax Zone. Well, as the West Indies get ready to tackle England in the first of 3 one-day internationals at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua and Barbuda in less than 24 hours, let's remind you of the Caribbean side's 15-member contingent to contest the series. So we have Shea Hope as captain, Jewel Andrew will be suiting up as well, Casey Carty, Roston Chase, Matthew Ford, Shimron Hetmyer joins the side, Alzari Joseph, Shamar Joseph, Brandon King, Evan Lewis, Gudakesh Moji, Sherfin Rutherford, Jaden Seals, Romario Shepherd and Hayden Walsh Jr. Well, as we said on Tuesday, middle-order batter Shimron Hetmyer is the only adjustment to the team which went down 2-1 to Sri Lanka recently. He replaces opener Alec Athanaze. Well, the visitors, on the other hand, will be without resident white ball captain Joss Butler for this portion of the series, with all-rounder Liam Livingstone set to lead the team, which includes 2 Barbados-born players, that's fast bowler Jofra Archer and batsman Jacob Bethel. Well, our cricket analyst Nikhil Uttamchandani, he joins us this afternoon as we look ahead to the series. Nikhil, how are you doing?
Hi, Maria. I'm very well. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Excited to see what happens tomorrow. We'll be in our territory. So, we're getting ready for this match against England. What are you looking forward to most from this series?
A series win for the West Indies because England are the only of the top 8 nations that they've beaten in the last 3 years. Really think about one international cricket. So they definitely need a win. Obviously, England is a side that tends to bring the best out of the West Indies because of the rivalry. I think probably because England have been undermanned when they've come here the last couple of series, thinking back to last year and this one as well. So look, with all that we've spoken about with the World Cup qualification, it's a big opportunity for the West Indies. And I think you want to keep winning to develop a confidence within the group, especially going into more one-day international cricket later this year.
Yeah, how important will the Caribbean conditions be if we are to go on to really win this series, Nikhil? What's the conditions like right now in Antigua and Barbuda?
Yeah, there's been a bit of rain around Maria, but I had a chance to look at the surface today, and surprisingly, there is a bit of grass on it, which was a nice sign and difference. Hopefully, that will still be the case tomorrow when the game begins, but from what I understand, it's been quite dry in Antigua. However, the ground staff have made a concerted effort to try and get some grass on the surface. So I think from a West Indian perspective, they'll be hoping it doesn't turn as much because England, with their batters, most of them can both spin when you think about Livingstone, Bethel, Dan Mousley. They've also got 3 out-and-out leg spinning options in Chauhan, Rayan Ahmed and Adil Rashid. So we know the West Indies have struggled against leg spin as well, so they'll be hoping the pitch is, I think, a bit more placid and favours their seamers a bit more.
Yeah, and let's talk now about your initial thoughts when you saw this side, Nikhil, and you saw Shimron Hetmyer included, of course, replacing Alec Athanaze.
So the feedback I got, Maria, from the West Indian staff and admin was that they felt it would do Alec Athanaze a bit better to go back and play the regional tournament, which is obviously our Super 50 that's going on at the moment. And I can understand and appreciate that perspective. I think with Hetmyer, obviously he was asked to go to Sri Lanka, but opted out for personal reasons. And the way he's batted in the CPL and in probably the last 3 to 4 months in all of his cricket, whether it's franchise cricket around the world, you can see that I think he's slowly beginning to find the old Shimron Hetmyer, the one that we saw score 5 one international hundreds before the age of 23. And even watching him in the nets today, he's got this happiness about him, this confidence about him, and it seems like he's back. I know we need to wait until he gets international runs before we can say that, but he just looks different, the way he's carrying himself compared to how he was in previous series. I think when you think about the West Indies' struggles in the middle with the strike rotation and the ability against spin, he covers a lot of bases. And we all know a Shimron Hetmyer at full talent is a huge asset to West Indies cricket, especially if you have guys like Shea Hope and Rutherford and a Roston Chase, who we saw very capable with those sweeps. I think we're moving closer to being able to have better strike rotation in the middle and better players of spin with Hetmyer's inclusion.
Yeah, do you have any update on Evan Lewis and that injury we saw when he got that century? Anything you can share with us, as in is he in good spirits? How is he doing and all of that?
Yeah, nothing official. However, he batted today and he looked pretty normal to me. The ball disappeared out the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium, so I would think that he's good to go.
Yeah, let me ask you very quickly, though, because going back to the team that we've been giving here, Nikhil, there are people who feel that Hayden Walsh's form looks a little questionable and suggesting that someone like Yannick Carrier could have pressured him for that leg spinning spot.
Again, Yannick Carrier's record in one international cricket, Lance, has been disappointing when you look at the average of above 40 with the ball in hand. Listen, I think they've obviously been quite disappointed in the returns that they've got from their leg spinners. Again, they continue to say, Shai Hope said it in the press conference today, he thinks it's very important to have quality wrist spin in your side. The one name I keep thinking about, though, and I find it really weird that we haven't heard much about him, is Akil Hossain. When I think about the makeup of the West Indies side and how teams are playing Moti, where they're just seeing him out, I think if you had an Akil Hossain to bowl where Moti's bowling now with that new ball, hasn't played since the World Cup qualifiers last year, but it allows the West Indies then to get Moti in the middle overs where he's probably a bit more suited. So I've been quite surprised that we haven't seen him back in the fore. And obviously, I understand there's a want to get a leg spinner in. I just don't know how much longer you can play a leg spinner just for the sake of having one. With that being said, though, this is an opportunity with Hayden Walsh returning to familiar conditions. He bowled extremely well in Barbados a couple of years ago against Australia. If he does get an opportunity, all will be forgotten if he can have maybe an 8 or 10 wicket series. So let's see if he does get the nod, maybe moving in a bit deeper into the series if the surfaces get a bit drier. Yeah,
and Nikhil, the ODI format, without question, the worst of the formats at the moment for West Indies cricket based on the ICC rankings. Are Windies favourites here to win this series?
I think, yes, Lance, because of the inexperience that England have, and I would go a bit on history, but they cannot be taken lightly. When I think about the guys that they have, they've structured their side quite smartly. There's no surprise that they've got the amount of leg spin that they do have, given the struggles. I think they're a very versatile lineup, this new team. And there are also a few names in here that will be looking at the Champions Trophy next year and saying, look, we've got a real opportunity here to bang down the door in a hope to make that side. And guys have come in who have already played a lot of 50-over cricket. It's been T20 guys, Michael Pepper, Jordan Cox, Dan Mousley. They've excelled T20 style in England. So I think they're going to come in playing that fearless brand and looking to take the attack to the West Indies. A bit different to that Sri Lanka team that we just played against. So I'm interested to see how bowlers react. And we were under pressure in Sri Lanka. This could be even more if you have flat pitches and you're facilitating that power hitting that they like to do.
Yeah, the 21-year-old Warwickshire batting all-rounder, Jacob Bethel, Barbados-born. You would have seen him play under 15 cricket for Barbados some years ago now, naturalised Englishman. I saw where he has been called up to the test squad for the New Zealand tour coming up in a month from now. Your thoughts on his inclusion in this white ball squad for England?
Yeah, I batted with him at school, Lance.
Oh, you did?
In college. Yeah, so I could take a little, a little check in his development. I'll ask him about it. But I'm really happy for him. Obviously, he's someone that grew up with me at Wanderers Cricket Club in Barbados, the club of Jason Holder and so many others, and then obviously made the move to England. And I mean, I find it amazing to think about the rise. I just remember the other day him playing in the BCS Under-13 tournament and winning awards there. And I was commentating on some of the games, being 14, having just finished playing. So to see him now 6 years later playing for England and to be called up to the test side as well, I think it speaks to how highly they rate his ability. And the one thing that surprised me about him is obviously he's not the biggest in stature, but his power game and his timing is up there. And obviously they rate him quite highly because he's involved in all three formats. So I'm looking forward to seeing him, how he goes in these conditions, which are slightly different to England and what he's used to. But again, the fact that he's from the Caribbean, I think, will add a bit of extra comfort and, maybe a bit of expectation as well with a bit of pressure from the West Indian fans.
Yeah, well, the good thing, Nikhil, is we don't have to wait too long to see what happens tomorrow. And, you'll be on commentary, right?
Yes, Maria.
Okay, so we'll be looking forward. And Lance said a lot of great things about you yesterday. No pressure. Was it yesterday? Day before?
I want to say, Lance, thank you so much. I messaged him, but I was really appreciative. I didn't see that one coming. Ricardo would never do something like that, But,
yeah, you're so right.
Lance.
Correct. Very true. All right. Well, we're going to move on now, Nikhil, and we're back regionally as Cricket West Indies Super 50 Cup continued in Trinidad and Tobago early on Tuesday, with the Leeward Islands Hurricanes earning an emphatic 142-run win over the West Indies Academy at the Queen's Park Oval. So, West Indies batter Justin Greaves scored a calculated century. That's 111 not out to lead the Hurricanes to 236 for 7 from their 47 overs in the rain-affected contest, as Jediah Blades 3 for 49 and Joshua Bishop 2 for 31 led the Windies Academy's attack. Now, the Academy's chase of 237 never got off the ground, with spinners Rakeem Cornwall 3 for 22 and Daniel Durham 3 for 34 cleaning up the lower middle order to complement a destructive opening spell of 2 for 4 from fast bowler O'Shane Thomas. Meanwhile, the Barbados Pride earned a 24-run win over Jamaica Scorpions via the Duckworth-Lewis turn method at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy, on the back of a strong top-order display that was led by half-centuries from opener Lenico Boucher, who top-scored with 73 on his return to List A cricket, and Zachary McCaskey, 63, with support from Windies all-rounder Kyle Mayers, who added 41, to push the Pride to 260 for 8 in their 50 overs. Now, fast bowler Marquino Minley copped a 3 for 43 for the Scorpions. And then there was spinner Jomel Warrican, who led the Pride's defence, grabbing 4 for 25 as the Scorpions failed to threaten the revised target of 223 at any point in the chase before eventually being dismissed for 199 in 35 overs. So Nikhil is still with us. Hopefully he didn't leave while I was giving that update. Nikhil, let's start with Justin Greaves and that century, because you did say that's what you want. You want more batsmen to, prove themselves, get centuries, and not just one, but consistently. So Justin Greaves has put his hand up and said, okay, Nikhil, I give you one today.
Mariah, Justin Greaves is one that many around the region feel should be here in Antigua, playing in the one international side. He played 2 ODIs at the beginning of this year in Australia and then was dropped. Obviously, it's a harsh way to go out, given that he's only played the 2 games. Since he scored 400-plus runs at last year's Super 50. But the best way to bang down the door of the selectors is to score runs. And for him to come back, he had a promising CPL, which was a bit out of his comfort zone. This format, much more suited. But I love the added approach and intensity in his 100. Obviously, it came in quick time. Leewards didn't have much help to support him. And I think he has a very important opportunity in front of him, likely to be the next West Indies test number 6. But he's showing enough versatility that he can pretty much bat anywhere from 1 to 6 in a one-day international batting lineup. And Darren Sammy has talked so much about having bowlers who can hit a good length. He is one that can nip the ball both in and away, hitting a good length consistently. So I think, look, this could be another big season for him, and we could easily be seeing him in the Bangladesh series, because literally he just continues to excel at the 50-over format.
Yeah, really good stuff from him. Yeah, Lance.
Yeah, and the fact is that if you look, we look at the other results in a moment there, Nikhil, but when we look at the performance of a Cornwall and a Daniel Durham yesterday as well, it continues to highlight the fact that spinners are really potent in domestic cricket in the Caribbean. And 3 wickets each for Cornwall and Durham. Your thoughts on that aspect? Because we had discussed yesterday the issue of West Indies batters improving their ability to play spin.
And I think the players that have scored runs in the first 2 days, Lance, have been the ones that are better players of spin. Obviously, the surfaces, especially at UAE yesterday, the CCC game, that pitch turned a lot. For Kerry Peer to bowl 9 overs for 8 runs and take 4 wickets, I think that tells you all you need to know. However, we can still add options as batters in the Caribbean to be able to play the spin, the sweeps. I mean, the way Dylan Douglas batted last night, you saw him play the reverse sweep, same with Shadrach Deskar, the ram. So you see when the ball is turning horizontally, guys are playing the sweep more often, and it's working. Justin Greaves is a great player of spin, and it's probably a better player of spin than pace, and we saw it again today. So I think it's no surprise that these guys are getting runs because of their ability against the spin.
Yeah, and Daniel Durham, left-arm spinner, opting to play for the Netherlands, but still plays for the leewards. I guess, you know, with the proliferation of outstanding left-arm spinners in the West Indies setup at the moment, you think that that his choosing to play in Netherlands is a loss for the West Indies because he's pretty decent, isn't he?
Yeah, Lance, if I had a son, I would be telling him, do not bowl left-arm spin. I can't believe how many left-arm spinners we have around the region, man. I mean, in the academy, they're all over. So I think with Akil and Moti excelling, it's really hard for guys that, I mean, even Warwick today, you know, getting 4 wickets, but it's hard for him to even break into the side. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I find it really tough. But hopefully Durham can still find another way to play international cricket playing for the Netherlands.
Yeah, and quickly, last night's result, the Windwards Volcanoes successfully chasing the Guyana Harpy Eagles total that looked beyond them after 11 overs. I think they were 50 out for 5. How surprising was that? And credit to the Windwards Volcanoes batters.
Yeah, I mean, it really jumped me, the fact that they were 10 for 3, 58 for 5. The biggest sort of impressive thing for me, Lance, was the way that Deskar and Douglas batted in that partnership. They came together at 58 for 5, but the way that they absorb pressure. Now, we know, we always talk about absorbing pressure. You see guys sort of defending and blocking and trying to stay at the crease. But they were able to do it by actually rotating strike and still finding the boundary. Deskar was 60 off 62, and Douglas's 50 came in 60 balls. So that was very impressive. And then for them to be in that sort of trouble and Douglas to manage batting with the low order and get 274, I think that stunned Guyana and it stunned the tournament. And they will welcome Alec Athenaeus back in. You never know, they could be a dark horse in this year's Super 50 Cup.
Yeah, and Douglas was on debut, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was very impressive, to be honest. Again, the way he batted against a spin looked very authoritative. Not like someone that was on debut. You could see he's put a lot of time into playing spin. I know he's had a very good Windward Islands tournament, but it was very impressive to see the way he went about his innings. And again, not like he started slowly and had to catch back up. He maintained that tempo all throughout the innings, which is what we want in the middle overs, where guys are able to rotate strike, use the sweeps, but also find the boundary when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, and you said the Windwards Volcanoes could be a dark horse in this tournament. They were winners back in 2018, weren't they? And haven't been that good since then, but they've been reasonably good in subsequent years, but just not good enough to win the title. But you are right, as you mentioned, Alec Athenaeus getting in their setup now. It could boost them significantly, couldn't it?
Yeah, I thought they had a good chance last year, to be honest, to at least compete a bit better with Fletcher, Johnson, Charles. Obviously, they finished the bottom of the table. But I like the young players, the new players that they've sort of got in. Pascal is one who I'm interested in seeing. And, I mean, hopefully Kevin Hodge and Athenaeus can show their international caliber at some stage. Ryan John had a good CPL. I think he is a project that can be worked on at the back end of the innings with his wide Yorker bowling. So I'm hoping those guys, Shamar Springer as well, who just made his international debut, I'm hoping they can find that this win can give them sort of a confidence to find a bit more of that winning mantra together as a group. But definitely there's something there.
Yeah, and you would want to talk, I'm sure, about the Barbados Pride victory today. They were in control against the Jamaica Scorpions for a long way. The rain stoppage had revised the Jamaican chasing target, but pretty decent. Dominic Drake, son of the coach Vasper Drakes, and Warrican, the two main bowlers that cemented the victory for the Bajan Pride.
Yeah, I thought Leniko Boucher, first of all, was very impressive. Someone who hasn't played List A cricket or any professional cricket really since 2020 in the CPL. He's worked very hard domestically. He's gotten runs year after year, which has forced the selectors to have to give him that opportunity. And he's only 27 years old, so there's a lot of time for him if he can have a good season. You never know. But I thought the way he sort of commanded the innings with McCaskey was quite good to get to the 260. Mayers felt that they were still 20 or 30 runs short at the end. And then obviously they've got a proliferation of good spin with Warrican and Kemar Smith and then Dominic Drakes. With that new ball spell, I thought that really pegged back Jamaica. But the Scorpions have got to find top order runs. It's been their problem for a number of seasons where they don't get guys in that top 5 contributing enough. Before it used to be Nkrumah Bonner, but he's not in the side anymore. So they need the younger guys like Kurt McKenzie, Brad Barnes, who got a start today, to sort of take that mantle of scoring.
Yeah, and as you talk about Boucher, I seem to remember that he was one of the Barbados teenagers who had gone to England on one of those school stints. Yeah,
he's had a few opportunities. I remember he played a CPL, the 2019 CPL, that the Barbados Tridents won. He was a part of that team. He got a 50 in the tournament. So there's definitely been some opportunities for him. He played for the Zooks in 2020. But I think he's really improved his game. That's been the talk around Barbados. He's gone back into the club level, has scored a lot of runs, and then in the trial matches has also got a couple of hundreds, which has allowed his selection. So maybe he now can have a big tournament and then go on to make his first-class debut at some stage.
All right, Nikhil, we're going to leave it there. I know you will be straddling, monitoring both the International Series and the Super 50, but I guess you're good like that. You can do both and digest all of what's happening on the cricket field.
I wouldn't say good like that, Lance, but I think it's just passion. I want to see the next generation sort of in our West Indies cricket. So, yeah, I follow it with a keen eye.
Yeah, all right, Nikhil, great on you, man. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure. We go to break. We'll be back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.